She said she wanted freedom. But what she really wanted was someone else, and while she built a new life behind my back, I was still dreaming about forever. Until the day I found out. And everything changed. I don't even know where to start. Maybe it's the silence in my apartment right now, or the fact that my dinner's gone cold on the counter while I just sit here staring at the wall, but I feel like if I don't get this out of my head and into the world somehow, I'm going to lose it. I guess I should back up a bit. My name's Eric, I'm 32, and until about 3 days ago, I thought I had a future with someone. Her name's Laura. She's 30, smart as hell, works in HR at a mid-sized marketing firm, and she has this way of talking with her hands that I always thought was adorable. We've been together 3 years. Lived together for 2. Talked about marriage. Talked about forever. Except, somewhere along the way, that word started meaning different things for the two of us. I remember the first time I brought up having kids. It was subtle. I didn't just come out and say, let's have a baby. We were watching my niece toddle around at my sister's house during a barbecue, her little chubby hands clutching onto anything for balance. Laura was holding her on her lap at one point, even making those silly faces that made her laugh. It looked right, you know? So I said, you're going to make a great mom someday. I remember how she froze. Just a flicker of something in her eyes, like a shutter snapping down. Then she smiled, but it was tight. I don't know, she said. I don't think I'm cut out for all that. Diapers, tantrums. I like our freedom. At the time, I chalked it up to nerves. I figured people change, maybe she just wasn't ready. So I didn't push it. For months, I didn't bring it up again. But the idea lingered. I've always wanted to be a dad. That's not something I hide or compromise on lightly. When I finally did press again, maybe 6, 7 months ago, I was a little more direct. We were having wine on the balcony one night, watching the sun dip behind the buildings. She'd just gotten a promotion and we were toasting to her win. Everything felt right. So I said, have you thought any more about starting a family? Not now, necessarily. Just down the line. And again, that flicker. That hesitation. That weird pause before she said anything. I thought we talked about this, she said, setting her glass down. I don't want kids, Eric. I don't think I ever have. I thought you were okay with that. My stomach dropped. I hadn't realized how much I'd been banking on her changing her mind. But I didn't want to fight. I nodded like it didn't bother me. But it did. The thing is, I started noticing things around that time, little moments that didn't add up. She was going out more. Not in a wild nightlife kind of way, just oddly frequent happy hours, late meetings, occasional Saturdays where she'd say she was helping a coworker move or doing something for work. She'd show me texts if I asked. She kept things surface level. And I didn't want to be the insecure boyfriend. I really didn't. I pride myself on being chill. Trusting. But then my buddy Jamie, one of my oldest friends, brought something up. We were at a dive bar watching the game. He got up to get another round and on his way back he said, hey, don't take this the wrong way, but is Laura seeing someone from work? I almost dropped my beer. What? I laughed. Dude, what are you talking about? He shrugged, looking weirdly cautious. I don't know, man. Probably nothing. I was over by the Meridian offices last week, remember, I did that consulting gig there a while back. Anyway, I saw her in the lobby. She was with some guy. Tall, brown hair. Not just chatting, like, close. Hands on arms, laughing, leaning in. Looked kind of date-y. I didn't say anything for a while. Just stared at the condensation on my glass. Then I shrugged it off. She's in HR, I said. Could have been anything. That's literally her job, connecting with people. But the seed was planted. And once something like that is in your head, it grows. Whether you want it to or not. I started paying more attention. Not in a creepy way. I wasn't tracking her or anything like that. But I'd ask casual questions when she'd come home late. Who was at the meeting? How did it go? And the answers were always just too polished. Like she'd rehearsed them. Last Thursday, everything cracked. It was a sunny afternoon, unusually warm for March. Jamie and I had taken the day off work to go hiking, something we hadn't done in years. Afterward, we stopped at this new cafe downtown for smoothies. As we pulled into the parking lot, I saw Laura's car. Which wasn't weird, the cafe's not far from her office. But then Jamie froze beside me. Dude. That's the guy. I followed his gaze and sure enough, there was Laura. Sitting at one of the outside tables. Laughing. Her hand on a guy's chest. his hand on her knee. And then, as if the universe wanted to make it absolutely unmissable, they kissed. I don't remember much of what happened immediately after that. I know Jamie grabbed my arm because I'd started to walk toward them. I know he muttered something like, "You sure you want to do this here?" And for once, I wasn't sure of anything. I didn't confront her then. I just stood there, stunned, while the smoothie I never drank started to melt in my hand. She didn't see us. Or if she did, she didn't react. I left without saying a word. That night, she came home late. I was sitting in the dark, half watching a rerun of The Office, just to have some noise. She kissed me on the cheek, told me she was exhausted, said there was some issue with the onboarding system at work that kept her there till 8. That was the moment. That exact moment. When she lied to my face. I saw her do it. Her eyes didn't waver. Her voice didn't shake. And that's what broke me more than anything. I didn't say anything, not then. I nodded. Played dumb. Said something like, "Rough day, huh?" I don't know what part of me needed to see it unravel naturally, to let her dig the hole deeper. But I decided then and there that I needed to know everything before I confronted her. Because whatever this was, it went deeper than one kiss. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I went through her phone while she was in the shower the next morning. The messages weren't just flirty. They weren't just emotional. They were a full-blown relationship. His name was Cameron. Worked in marketing. Divorced. No kids. They'd been texting constantly, meeting during lunch, grabbing drinks, sneaking in weekend getaways for work. And what stung the most were the messages about me. "He still thinks I'm just working late," she wrote in one. "I feel bad, but not bad enough to stop. I feel alive with you." Alive. Like I was death. There were messages mocking me. Laughing about how I still wanted kids. How she told him she was so glad he wasn't into that whole dad thing. There was one where she said, "Eric's great, but he's not you." That was when my hand started shaking. I screenshot everything. Sent it all to my own email. I didn't know what I was going to do with them yet. I just knew I needed proof. Maybe for closure. Maybe just so I couldn't gaslight myself into thinking I imagined it. I didn't confront her that morning. I wanted to wait. I wanted to find the right moment where I could ask her without her seeing it coming. But I never got the chance. That evening, she came home all smiles, talking about how she wanted to do a movie night, said she missed me lately and wanted to reconnect. The audacity of it made my skin crawl. I agreed. Let her put on a movie. Let her sit close, lay her head on my shoulder. And the whole time, I kept thinking, how long has she been able to fake it like this? That night, after she fell asleep, I stared at the ceiling for hours. I don't know if it was shock or heartbreak or just the sheer betrayal, but I couldn't move. My chest felt like it had a weight sitting on it. I kept thinking about that first time I brought up kids. How she'd shut it down so hard. How she looked at me like I was the weird one for wanting a family. And now I knew it wasn't just that she didn't want kids. She just didn't want them with me. She wanted freedom. Excitement. Whatever the hell Cameron represented. I didn't sleep that night. And now, I'm sitting here in this same spot, staring at the same cold dinner, knowing that tonight, everything changes. Because tonight, I'm going to tell her I know. And whatever happens after that, I guess I'll find out. I didn't go to work the next morning. I called in sick and stayed in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about how I was supposed to confront someone I loved, someone I lived with, built memories with, and tell her I knew she'd been living a lie under the same roof. The worst part? She didn't act like someone with secrets. She didn't fidget or pull away. She made coffee, hummed a little, kissed me on the forehead on her way out the door like she hadn't just spent the past 6 months erasing our future one lie at a time. She even asked if I wanted to do brunch that weekend. Brunch. Like we were just a normal couple still planning normal things. Like she hadn't made out with her coworker on a cafe patio while I stood 15 feet away. It was surreal. I spent the day replaying things. Moments I had brushed off. The time she stayed late for an HR seminar and came home smelling like someone else's cologne. The way her phone used to be left on the couch or the counter without a second thought, but more recently had started traveling with her everywhere, even to the bathroom. The overuse of the phrase, "I'm just tired." But what killed me wasn't the affair. It was that she'd already decided I wasn't part of her long-term picture, and she never told me. She just let me sit in the passenger seat of a relationship she'd already rerouted toward someone else. And I'm not stupid. I know relationships fall apart. I know people drift, grow in different directions. But at least give me the courtesy of honesty. Instead, she kept me on the hook, nodded along when I made plans for next year's vacation, joked about what kind of dog we'd get when we finally moved out of the apartment and into something bigger. She let me dream while she built something new on the side. I told Jamie that night I was going to confront her. He offered to come over, be there if things got bad. I appreciated it, but I said no. This was mine to handle. I waited until after dinner. I didn't say much while we ate. Just moved the food around my plate and tried not to stare at her too long. She noticed I was quiet, but she didn't ask. And maybe that's the clearest sign of how far we'd drifted, that she didn't even try to pull me out of it. We were sitting on the couch after, watching a show we used to love, but I couldn't even follow the plot anymore. My heart was pounding. My mouth was dry. I felt like I was about to jump out of a plane without a parachute. Finally, I said her name. Laura. She looked over at me, eyes soft. Yeah? I pulled out my phone. Opened the email I'd sent myself. Clicked on the first screenshot, the one with her and Cameron's texts about sneaking off to that Airbnb outside of town. Then I turned the screen toward her. Her whole face changed. She didn't say anything at first. Just stared at it. Then blinked. Then looked up at me. You went through my phone, she asked quietly. I laughed. I couldn't help it. That was what she led with. Not denial, not an apology, accusation. Seriously? I said. That's what you're going to focus on? She closed her eyes for a second, then looked away, like she couldn't bear to look me in the face. I was going to tell you, she whispered. When? I snapped. After your next weekend getaway? Or after you finally got tired of pretending you still loved me? She rubbed her temples like she was the one under stress. It wasn't like that, Eric. Then what was it like, Laura? I was on my feet now. Pacing. Because from where I'm standing, it sure looks like you've been screwing someone else behind my back for 6 months while pretending we were still building a life together. She stood too, arms folded. Defensive. I never stopped loving you, she said, and I swear I felt something inside me crack. You don't do that to people you love, I said, my voice lower now. You don't lie to them. You don't humiliate them. You don't make them feel like a fool in front of their best friend. She flinched. That hit something. You saw us, she asked. I nodded. Jamie and I were at the cafe. We saw everything. Laura sank back onto the couch like her knees gave out. Jesus, she muttered. I sat across from her. The room was so quiet, I could hear the neighbor's TV through the wall. Why? I asked. Why him? She didn't answer for a long time. When she finally did, her voice was shaky. I don't know. It started off innocent. He was just easy to talk to. He made me feel seen. And I guess I started to realize how different we were. You want a family. You want all these things. And I kept thinking, maybe I'm just not wired for it. So you decided to replace me without even ending things first? I asked. You let me believe we still had a future while you built a new one with him? Tears welled in her eyes. I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. We sat in silence for a long time. Eventually, I said, you need to move out. That got her attention. What? This isn't your home anymore, I said. You don't get to stay here and keep pretending like nothing happened. She opened her mouth like she wanted to argue. Then closed it again. Finally, she just nodded. I'll go stay at my sister's, she said. I want your things out by the end of the weekend, I said. You can come during the day when I'm not here. I'll leave the spare key in the mailbox. She nodded again. Then she stood up, grabbed her bag, and walked out the door. No goodbye. No apology. No last words. Just silence. I sat there long after she left. Just me and the echo of what used to be. And that's when it really hit me, how much of my life I'd built around someone who had one foot out the door the entire time. The next few days were rough. I had to explain everything to my parents, who loved her. I had to cancel our upcoming trip to Chicago. I had to box up the photos, the notes, the stupid little mementos we collected over 3 years. But the worst part? The memories. The way she used to laugh in the mornings. The way her head fit perfectly on my shoulder during movies. The way she always made a second cup of coffee without asking, just because she knew I'd want one. All of that, poisoned. And then there was Cameron. God, I hated that name. I didn't want to know anything about him. But Jamie did some digging, not that I asked him to. He said the guy's been divorced twice. known for being a flirt around the office. The kind of guy who always finds a new e-connection every 6 to 9 months. Perfect. Exactly the type of guy you ditch a long-term relationship for, right? Still, I tried not to dwell. I threw myself into work. Took on a few extra projects. Spent more time with Jamie and some of the guys. Even went on a few dates, nothing serious, just to remind myself that the world hadn't ended. But healing isn't linear. And the truth is, some nights, I still feel that hollow ache in my chest. I still catch myself reaching for my phone to text her when something funny happens. I still wake up some mornings expecting to hear her humming in the kitchen. It's like grief. Except the person's still alive. And worse, they chose to become a stranger. Last week, I got a letter. Handwritten. From Laura. I almost threw it away without reading it, but curiosity won. She said she was sorry. That she'd been selfish. That she didn't realize what she had until it was gone. That she didn't know if things with Cameron would last, and maybe that was part of the problem, she didn't think things through. She ended it by saying she hoped someday I'd forgive her. I haven't written back. Maybe I will someday. Maybe I won't. Right now, I'm just trying to remember who I was before she came into my life, and who I can be after. It's strange how fast a house can stop feeling like a home. After Laura left, everything inside the apartment started to feel like it belonged to someone else. The framed photo of us on the bookshelf? Gone. The 2 coffee mugs with the silly penguin designs? I packed hers away. Even the damn throw blanket she insisted we buy on that weekend trip to Asheville, the one that shed blue fuzz all over my dark shirts, it still hangs on the back of the couch like a ghost of her. I've done my best to clean it all out. But you don't realize how tightly someone threads themselves into your life until you try to pull them out. There's always a loose thread left behind. Something tugging. But I've been trying to move forward. I've been going to the gym more, eating cleaner, even reading again, actual paper books, not just articles or Reddit threads. I'd forgotten how quiet my life could be without all the noise. No more the where do you want to eat debates. No more pretending to laugh at stories about people from her office I didn't know. No more watching The Bachelor and pretending I wasn't judging every single person on screen. Still, I'd be lying if I said the silence didn't get to me. There were nights where I sat alone in this apartment and asked myself over and over, how did I miss it? How did I not see who she really was? But I already knew the answer. Because I wanted it to work. I wanted us to work so badly that I ignored every red flag that waved itself in front of me. I believed the version of her that she showed me because I needed to, because I'd already invested so much time and love and energy, and the thought of starting over scared the hell out of me. But here I am. Starting over, whether I want to or not. I hadn't heard from Laura again since that letter. Not a text. Not a call. Not even a like on any of my posts. Not that I've been posting much. But a week ago, I ran into her. It was completely random. I was at the grocery store, a different one than our usual spot, intentionally, and there she was in the produce section, holding an avocado and talking to someone. I ducked behind the apples, like an idiot. My heart was racing, palms sweaty, just from seeing her. I felt like I was in high school again hiding from a teacher after skipping class. But then I saw who she was with. Cameron. I didn't need to guess. I knew immediately. Tall, smug, that I do CrossFit but pretend I'm chill about it look. He was leaning in close, saying something in her ear that made her laugh. The same way she used to laugh with me. And you know what surprised me? It didn't hurt. I expected a gut punch. But all I felt was this numb, cold awareness, like watching a stranger walk by in a familiar coat. It was like the last ember of whatever fire I'd held onto finally went dark. I didn't approach her. Didn't say a word. Just left my cart, walked straight to the parking lot, and sat in my car for 15 minutes, letting the tension drain from my shoulders. I was free. Later that night, Jamie came over. We cracked open a couple beers and played cards like we used to in college. He asked how I was holding up, and for the first time in weeks, I told him the truth. I think I'm good, I said. He raised an eyebrow. Seriously? Seriously. And I was. Maybe not great. But good. Then came the kicker. By the way, he said, setting his cards down, I've been meaning to tell you something. I looked up. You remember Becca? He asked. My brain took a second to connect the name. Becca as in your sister's best friend? He nodded. Yeah. She ran into Laura last week. They talked for a bit. Laura didn't mention you, but Becca said she seemed off. Off how? Like she was trying really hard to look happy, but her eyes didn't match. Said it looked like she was smiling with her mouth and panicking with her brain. I chuckled. Poetic. Jamie grinned. Becca's into that deep feelings crap. But it stuck with me. That image. Laura smiling with her mouth, panicking with her brain. It didn't make me pity her, exactly. But it did make me wonder how real her new perfect relationship really was. That weekend, something unexpected happened. I got a message on Facebook. From Evelyn, Laura's older sister. We'd never been particularly close. Cordial, but not tight. She was always kind of blunt, a little too tell it like it is, but I respected that about her. The message was short. Hey Eric. I heard what happened. Just wanted you to know I always thought you deserved better. You didn't hear it from me, but you might not be the last one. Cameron's cheating is going to hurt. Be well. I stared at the screen for a solid minute. Then I closed the message and didn't reply. I wasn't going to get pulled back into that mess. Whatever drama Laura had walked into with Cameron, that was her world now, not mine. She made her choice. Still, it was like a weird weight lifted off me. Because for so long, I thought I was the one who got discarded. I thought I lost. But maybe I didn't. Maybe I got lucky. One night the following week, I was walking home from the gym when I passed this bookstore a couple blocks from my place. There was a sign in the window that said Local Poetry Night, Thursday at 7 p.m, all welcome. Something about it made me pause. I don't even like poetry, if I'm being honest. But I went inside anyway. And I'm glad I did. I sat in the back, near the window. Just watching. There was this girl, early 30s, sharp red glasses, short curly hair, who read this piece about heartbreak and betrayal, and how sometimes it takes losing someone to realize you've been lost yourself for a long time. I felt like I was being gutted in public. But in the best way. After the event, I caught her at the snack table. Hey, I said. That poem. The one about getting lost. That was intense. She smiled. Too much? No, I said. Exactly right. Her name was Claire. We talked for half an hour. Nothing flirty, nothing suggestive, just two people connecting over shared scars. She told me she used to be married. He cheated. She said writing was the only thing that got her through it. I didn't tell her about Laura. Not yet. But I felt something shift inside me that night, something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. Hope that maybe this chapter of my life wasn't the end of the story. Just a painful, necessary turning point. Laura had taught me a lot. Mostly what I didn't want. What I wouldn't tolerate again. But also what I did want, honesty, effort, partnership. And maybe someday, someone to build a family with. Because that dream? It didn't die just because she wasn't the one to share it with. It's still mine. Claire and I started meeting up every Thursday night. It wasn't planned that way, not at first. But after that poetry reading, we'd run into each other at the cafe across the street once, then again at the park near my place, and then finally she just said, "All right, this is getting suspicious. Want to grab coffee on purpose next time?" I said yes. The truth is, it felt good just to talk to someone who wasn't wrapped up in my old life. Claire didn't know Laura. She didn't know how I used to plan our weekends around brunch menus or how we kept a spreadsheet for our travel plans. She didn't know what it looked like when I used to come home to someone else's lies wrapped in a warm smile. With Claire, I got to be me. Just Eric. No baggage claim, no history lesson. Just two people, figuring it out as they go. Our conversations were easy. Natural. We talked about books, about music, about the worst dates we'd ever been on. Hers was a guy who brought his mom to dinner, mine was a girl who live-tweeted our entire conversation. We didn't flirt much, not at first. It wasn't like that. Or maybe it was, but neither of us wanted to name it yet. I told Jamie about her. He gave me this look like he was trying really hard not to smirk. "You got a crush on a poet now?" he teased. "She's not just a poet," I said. "She works in publishing. And she's smart. And normal. Like, honestly normal." Jamie raised his beer. "After Laura, that must feel like dating a unicorn." I didn't argue. But here's the thing, even as I found myself leaning into this connection with Claire, there was still a small, bitter piece of me that hadn't fully let go. Not of Laura, exactly. But of the whole mess. The betrayal. The manipulation. The way it unraveled me. That part lingered like a bruise, the kind that doesn't look bad on the outside but aches when you move just the wrong way. And then, of course, Laura came back. Not physically, not yet. But through the modern miracle of digital intrusion. She texted me out of nowhere on a Tuesday night. Can we talk? I stared at the message for a full minute. My first instinct was to delete it. My second was to throw my phone into the nearest body of water. But I didn't do either. I just sat there, the words burning a hole in my chest. I didn't respond right away. In fact, I didn't respond at all that night. The next morning, she followed up. Please. I just need a conversation. I won't take much of your time. I read the message 3 times before typing out one word. Why? She replied almost instantly. Because I owe you something. Because you deserve to say everything you didn't get to say. And maybe because I need to hear it. I didn't know what to make of that. But part of me, the part that had been screaming into the void since the night I watched her walk out the door, wanted to take that chance. To finally say the things I held back. To close the loop. So I agreed. We met at a neutral spot, a coffee shop halfway between our old apartment and where she said she was staying now. She was already there when I arrived, sitting by the window, her fingers curled tightly around a mug. She looked tired. Like someone who hadn't slept well in weeks. She smiled when she saw me, but it didn't reach her eyes. Thanks for coming, she said. I sat down without saying anything. I didn't touch the menu. You look good, she added. Healthier. Yeah, I said. Turns out betrayal's a pretty good weight loss plan. She winced. I deserve that. I nodded. You deserve worse. We sat in silence for a bit. She didn't make excuses. Didn't start crying or launch into a speech. Just sat there, waiting. Like she wanted me to go first. So I did. You didn't just cheat on me, Laura. You made me question everything I thought I knew about love. About trust. You made me feel stupid for believing in you. I know, she said softly. No, I don't think you do. You told me you didn't want kids, and I accepted that. I was ready to change my future for you. And all that time, you were starting a whole new life with someone else. You let me dream alone. She nodded. I told myself I was sparing you the pain of a breakup. But I think I was just avoiding being the bad guy. I didn't want to lose you, but I didn't want to give up what I had with him either. So I tried to have both. And it was wrong. I looked at her. Is it over? With him? Her eyes flickered. Yeah. It didn't last long after I moved out. Turns out, he's really good at starting things. Not so good at keeping them. I couldn't help but let out a bitter chuckle. Shocking. I made a mistake, she said. I know that's an understatement. And I don't expect forgiveness. But I wanted you to hear it from me. I leaned back, folding my arms. You know what the hardest part was? I asked. She looked up. I kept trying to figure out what I did wrong. What I missed. What I wasn't giving you. And the truth is, maybe it had nothing to do with me. Maybe you were just always going to blow it up. She swallowed hard. I was selfish. That's it. No deep psychology. No hidden trauma. I wanted something new, and I went after it without thinking who I hurt. That's honest, I said. She gave a half shrug. Late, but honest. There was another pause, then she added, have you met someone? I thought about Claire. About the way her eyes lit up when she talked about books, about the way she actually listened. And then I thought about how it felt to be sitting across from Laura, and how I didn't feel anything anymore. Not love. Not longing. Just closure. Yeah, I said. I think I have. She nodded slowly. Good. That's good. I stood up. We're done here, Laura. She didn't argue. Just nodded again. Take care of yourself, Eric. I walked out and didn't look back. And for the first time in months, I didn't feel like I was running from something. I was walking toward something better. That night, I called Claire. I want to take you out, I said. A real date. No coffee shop. No poetry open mic something with candlelight. And music. She laughed. Are you asking me on a date? I think I am. Well, in that case, she said, I'd love that. I didn't know it at the time, but that date with Claire was the beginning of something that would redefine what love felt like. It wasn't fireworks or slow-motion movie moments. It wasn't butterflies or sweaty palms or that clinging, desperate infatuation I used to mistake for romance. It was calm. Steady. Like finding a part of the map I didn't realize I was missing. We went to this Italian place near the river, the kind where the waiter recommends wine based on your mood, and the lights are so dim you have to hold the menu up to a candle just to read it. Claire wore a green dress with tiny white flowers on it and a pair of boots that made her look like she'd just walked out of a bookstore and into my life. Over dinner, we talked about everything. Work, family, the books we were reading. She told me about her cat, her childhood obsession with Nancy Drew, the time she accidentally dyed her hair blue trying to go platinum. I told her about my childhood Lego addiction, my failed attempt to play guitar in high school, and how I once broke my wrist trying to do a park hour move off a picnic table. We laughed a lot. And something about it felt easy. When the check came, she reached for her wallet and I waved her off. She smirked. Fine, she said. But next time's on me. And just like that, next time. A promise. A future. Not a big one. Not marriage or moving in or any of that. Just the promise that she wanted to see me again. That was enough. We didn't rush anything. I still had my own healing to do. And to her credit, Claire respected that completely. She didn't pry or push. She let me bring things up in my own time. And when I did, when I finally told her the whole story about Laura and Cameron and the night everything fell apart, she listened without judgment. I'm not going to say she didn't hurt you, Claire said, her voice quiet but firm. But I will say, it's kind of amazing how you came out of it. You didn't let it make you bitter. I thought about that. How easily I could have become bitter. I'd seen people go down that road. Seen them turn heartbreak into armor, walling off everything that made them vulnerable. I'd been tempted. God, had I been tempted. But I didn't want to be defined by what someone else did to me. So I kept showing up. For myself. For Claire. For this new life I was slowly building. And bit by bit, it worked. I got promoted at work a few weeks later. Nothing flashy, just a new title and a modest raise, but it felt like validation. Proof that I wasn't just surviving. I was thriving. I also started therapy. That one surprised even me. I'd never been the talk to a stranger about your feelings type, but something in me knew I had to unpack everything I'd stuffed down. My therapist, a no-nonsense guy named Greg, didn't coddle me. He asked the hard questions. Made me sit with the uncomfortable answers. Do you think you stayed with Laura because you loved her? He asked once. Yeah, I said. At first. And later? I thought about that for a while. Because I was afraid to start over. He nodded. That's what most people miss. It's not always love that keeps us stuck. Sometimes it's fear. It hit me hard. But it made sense. I started looking back at those last few months with Laura not as wasted time, but as necessary steps toward something better. Toward someone better. Claire and I grew closer in small, beautiful ways. She'd leave notes in my books when I wasn't looking. I'd make her playlists for her walks to work. We cooked together, shared inside jokes, and slowly started stitching our lives together, one thread at a time. One Sunday afternoon, she met my parents. They were skeptical at first, not of her, but of how fast things seemed to be moving. But Claire won them over almost immediately. My mom pulled me aside in the kitchen and whispered, "She's got a good heart, that one. You smile more with her." I hadn't realized it until she said it. But she was right. Jamie was next. He gave her the full protective best friend once-over. Asked all the hard questions. What do you want from Eric? How do you handle conflict? Are you a text back fast to person or a let it simmer for a few hours type? Claire answered every one without flinching. And by the end of the night, they were arguing about 80s movies like they'd known each other for years. By fall, Claire and I started talking about moving in together. We were careful with it. Not rushing, not forcing. But it felt right. The idea of waking up next to her every morning, of making space for her books on my shelves, her mugs in my cabinets, it felt like something to look forward to, not something to fear. And I'll be honest, there was a part of me that thought Laura might reach out again. That she'd pop up with some "just thinking of you" message, or a passive-aggressive comment on social media. But she never did. And that, in its own way, was a gift. Because it meant the door was closed. And I didn't have to keep glancing back. Months passed. Winter came, then spring again. And one Saturday morning, while I was making pancakes and Claire was dancing barefoot in the kitchen to some old soul song, I realized something. I was happy. Not distracted. Not coping. Not fine, all things considered. Just, genuinely, simply happy. I turned off the stove, wrapped my arms around her, and she laughed into my chest. What was that for? She asked. I kissed the top of her head. For everything. She looked up at me, curious. You okay? I nodded. More than okay. And I meant it. Looking back now, I don't regret the pain. I don't regret the heartbreak. I don't even regret the years with Laura, because they taught me what to look for, what to avoid, and most importantly, what I deserve. I learned that love isn't about grand gestures or perfect timing. It's about showing up. Being honest. Choosing someone every single day, even when it's hard. Laura taught me how it feels to be betrayed. Claire showed me how it feels to be safe. And me? I learned how to rebuild. How to grow. How to let go of a future that wasn't meant for me, so I could make room for one that is.